Hey there, and I hope you're having a great day. I came across this amazing question that I've been thinking about and I want to share with you here, which is how do you distinguish the voice of fear from the voice of intuition? And a second part to this question is how might Thai massage help to play a role in nurturing and bringing out that intuitive voice in yourself? I would say personally, this has played such a huge role in my life for why I've been doing Thai massage for almost 20 years. Making that conscious choice and getting into an understanding that intuition and being in touch with your intuition is one of those fundamentals that if you have it brings brings a lot to your life to help deal with things and to know the difference between dealing, when your intuition is speaking to you versus having a fear-based response. And I recognize, a few things. Number one, personally, I have gone through periods of my life where I felt so stuck in what I was doing and asking for answers in terms of like what do I do next in my life, and really feeling blocked that I cannot get in touch with my intuition. And as a result of that, I literally stayed in the same kind of position, the same job actually, for years because I'm like, well, until I can really get some clarity with that, with my own intuition, I don't want to change things up, and that was a choice that I made at that point in my life. And it was such an aha to recognize and realize just how important it is to have a regular, even daily, at least daily, check in with that part of yourself, with your intuition, because your intuition is like a compass, right? And when the needle and when the dial is clear, then when you actually need it to make choices in your life, it makes things so much easier, right? You can flow, you can choose with more confidence and bring all your energy and all your conviction and all all of yourself into what your choice is. And when you are dealing with a big decision and you're just feeling really scared, then it's a lot harder to proceed. And potentially you're worried about all the things that may come up that, you start thinking of your life almost going in like divergent paths. And if I chose and choose to go in a certain direction and it's fear that's leading the way, then it's just going to keep repeating itself and repeating itself. And I know, especially right now, which I would imagine for many of you, and certainly for me, I mean, there's a lot of fear that has come up for me right now. My whole life has been ripped apart, really, in a lot of ways because of COVID, on a personal level, on a professional level, on the kind of business that I built for the last 20 years. It all basically, like really as a snap of a finger left. And and um and and then basically then I'm left and answering like what next, and so much fear has come up. And I actually want to say that for me that's been a really good thing. And maybe part of this conversation is just recognizing the role and the value of fear in your life. I do think that there is like an underlying premise here that is important, which is that life, whatever you want to call it, God, spirit, love, is always on your side. And even when you're feeling fear and you feel so disconnected from yourself on an elevated level, on some level, I think maybe you can still recognize that even when you're feeling that kind of fear and you just kind of want to curl up into a ball or something like that, that life is still on your side. And it's a great idea to just maybe take a moment there and say, hey, what is life trying to teach me? And maybe that's one of them, that I need to recognize that I'm feeling really fearful right now, that I have an agenda, I have something I want to accomplish, or something I need to figure out, but my fear right now is blocking me. And rather than feel like I need to like push this fear out of the way, maybe it is that I need to sit with this fear. I need to sit with what's coming up. That there's maybe like an old story that brings this fear to the forefront, and you need to get in touch with that part of you that still feels like it needs to bring up the fear and bring up whatever defense mechanisms and whatever old patterns that you've used in the past to help you get through a challenging time to get through this one. And so you're making that kind of conscious choice. And so maybe the invitation, when you feel a lot of fear coming up and a lot of indecision about, I'm trying to make a choice to use, and I want to make it from a very intuitive place that feels really guided and feels like it's part of, you know, my bigger purpose, and you're feeling clouded in that, is to slow down and to know that, okay, if you want to figure that out and if you want to do that, it's not necessarily on your agenda to do it in the time that you think it needs to happen in. And that could be as slowing down might literally be 5 minutes. Go lie down and just kind of sit and be with your thoughts, be with your fear, be with your breath, and then maybe the conversation that's going on has changed. Maybe going for a walk, or just changing the narrative in your mind that I need to figure something out by a set time, has that potential to make space, you know. And I do think that when fear is coming up, it's an invitation to say, like, where can I make more space in my life and in my body right now, so that I can be with what's going on and that I can actually offer love to these feelings that I'm having. And like I said before, and just accepting that this fear-based place that I'm coming from right now is still life on my side. And so I'm gonna approach it like that and be with it and see what offerings, what I can learn from being here. But when you're really ready to act and make a decision and you're truly not sure, I think that message of life being on your side is still important, because whether it is coming from a fear-based place or an intuitive-based place, you act, you take your step, and it's in those actions that you're going to find out anyways and really get even more clarity. And it's through taking those actions that is one of the ways that you actually polish off your compass that I talked about before. And yeah, you can look back and say, hey, you know what, I guess this was more of a fear-based thing than a intuitive-based thing. And maybe you can even think back about what you were feeling and how it was making you, you know, like really like the feelings in your body, to help you understand, like, oh, I thought this is why I might have thought it was more coming from an intuitive place when it was actually fear-based, and you learn from it. But the fact is, just because you made that choice, and let's say it was hypothetically coming from that fear place in you, it doesn't mean that what comes after that first choice is going to be always coming from that fear-based place. That it's always an opportunity to learn and course correct, and giving space for your intuition to come in and just figure it out. And I know that from so much firsthand opportunity here. And that's why just making daily practices to shine your compass is so important. Meditation for me is probably number one on the list for that. And then getting out of my head and into my body is like number 1A on that list, because I think that's also part of it, that we get so stuck in our own self, in our own bubble, in our own world, and in our own mind, that is one of the reasons why it becomes really hard to distinguish between our fear-based patterns and our intuitive-based patterns. And getting into your body and connecting with something outside of yourself creates new pathways, new opportunities for intuition to come in. And actually that is such a huge reason why Thai massage has been of such immense value to me, because when you're giving a massage, your focus is on them. And if you're getting distracted, you still have set an intention that your focus is on the person that you're working on, it's on the techniques that you know, and it's on how you're feeling in the moment. It's probably really on all three of those things. And that's where you keep bringing it back to. And as you keep bringing it back to those three things, like how can I help you? How can I use my body wisely to help you? And let me be present. Then what you're allowing for is your intuition to come through. And it's really amazing how that works. Where, okay, you learn some Thai massage, you have some techniques, maybe even an order of techniques of how you do something. And when you first start learning with me, that is how I teach you. It's not to keep you locked into that, but just to help build a foundation to eventually free yourself, so that you repeat certain techniques maybe for a while, you get more comfortable, but then you start practicing and you're giving these techniques from the most loving place that you can to help that person as much as you can. And then as you're doing it, you get an idea that says, well, I wasn't taught this, but I'm going to try something a little different. I'm going to try maybe something big. I'm going to change the order around, or I'm going to spend more time on their shoulder, or I'm going to soften, and then you start getting into the subtleties and the soft spaces of the massage and the real listening to their body. And then you just keep repeating that, and you realize that giving massage becomes this exercise in deep care and deep listening. And that's how you get yourself out of your mind and into your body. Deep care, deep listening, and engaging. And as you do that with another person, what you're also doing is really sharpening that compass, that sharpening your tools, so that if you're trying to get out of some confusion around, is this really a fear-based approach? Is this really an intuitive approach? It really comes, I think, from that deep listening. And even in the question, like, how do you know? Well, who is the you that is doing the knowing? And it is that ability to step back, to be the witness, to be the one that just kind of sees the phenomena that's kind of moving through you, that can watch all the ideas that are going through your head, and recognize that you're not that, And fear is usually, I don't know if it's usually, if it's always, like it always is going to come from that past, from that future kind of response and fear of what may happen, or of having been hurt before. So it is that current, that we get sucked into and drawn into. So yeah, I do think that the you in that how do you know is really the ability to step out of it and step back far enough of it to just be quiet and listen. So by giving massage from the place that I talked about before, you are developing that awareness, and your intuition is talking to you. And I just gave you a great example of how your intuition continually talks to you about how to massage and how to give the massage. And as you do that, and you do that regularly, and then it's even like, sometimes it feels like a stretch. It's like, oh, I don't know this move, and yet somehow I feel like this is going to be the right thing to do. And as long as I communicate and ask, maybe if I'm not sure if I think it'll be good for them, and do it in a gradual kind of easing in sort of way, and then maybe even communicate so that it's certainly done in a safe way for them, then it becomes such a learning opportunity for you. And those things can literally happen like 30 times in the middle of a 1 hour massage, and then you've just filled yourself up with so much knowledge and so much engagement with your intuitive self, and then you just repeat that, and you give regular massages, and it's like going to school. And I've learned, and I'm learning about my intuition. I'm learning about what it feels to be like in that intuitive place again and again and again. And then when it comes to like big life decisions, and I need to draw upon the same resources, you're doing it from a whole other place. So that's my answer to this question. And I'm so grateful to Thai massage and to all the people who let me practice on them and trusted me, and I understand that I'm going to do everything in the most careful and caring way that I can for them and also for me, and know that, like on a deeper level, there's just so much goodness that comes from this practice. So that's it. And I would love to hear from you and your thoughts, and if you have tips on how you decipher and determine between intuitive choices and fear-based choices, and how this works for you. And I think this is actually really helpful, and I think there's a lot of people right now who are probably in positions in their life where they're needing to act and make actions, and they're not sure on how to step forward because they're dealing with this exact same thing. And so let's be part of a great conversation, and let's see what nuggets and what pieces of insights we can all share to open the door a little bigger, a little wider, and let that love come through, and let that intuition come through, and go forward into love-based, empowered, wonderful living and wonderful life, and how we help ourselves, how we help people in our community, and how we help the world. We'll talk soon. Love you. Bye.